How do you say it? 3-color work? That just feels like a lot. And welcome to my podcast. I'm Naomi and this is NJ Knits, where I talk about my knitting. So feel free to give me a follow over on Instagram. I am at Naomi Joy Knits, and my Ravelry is NJ Knits Podcast. And my email is the same, njknitspodcast@gmail.com, if you would like to send me an email. And I have a hoe, and I have a faux, and I have some whips, and I'm also going to take out some historical whips because I'm really, really hoping to get to them. Because the required knitting, and I have one little tiny acquisition, which is fantastic. So let's get a cup of something out, get some knitting out, have a little relaxing time, and enjoy listening to someone chatting about their knitting, because isn't that what we love? That is what we love. Ooh, I have a new cast on as well, which is quite exciting. So I will start off. Do you know what? I'm going to go backwards just to throw things off. I don't know why. I'm really sorry if you find that really disruptive, but I'm just going to be disruptive. My apologies if this is horrible. I'm going to start with my acquisition. So I've spoken about this bag before, but I was recently gifted this lovely key ring. It's textile related, and it is on my knitting bag, so I thought I would share it with you. It is hand stitched with some linen and some fabric, and these are handmade in Scotland by a maker called Morven, who is my cousin. She came to visit me at the weekend, and her Instagram is inking a lot. So inking as in like using print ink, which is what she does. She makes this lino cut stamps, and then she stamps them, and she's just started stamping onto cloth now. She does cards, and she makes stamps for like small businesses as well that want like custom stamps with their logo or designs that they want to stamp their merchandise with. But she makes cards as well, and I think she's going to be starting to supply some stamps for stamps and knitting related cards, because she does really beautiful little sheep cards, and she does all of her designs are amazing. They're so beautiful. Actually, I'll show you. I've got a notebook of hers that I've had for a while. That's really cute. It's a sloth. I asked her to do a sloth, and she did it. Anyway, so she makes the stamp, and then she prints onto cloth, and then she hand paints onto the stamp. So the stamp starts out just black and white, basically one color, and then she adds the color herself with hand paint. And this is just like a really tactile, squishy, soft, hand sewn key ring. It's just really easy to like find your keys with, and it's just really soft and squish and lovely. I'm not sure what she puts in the middle. Potentially just like teddy fluff. But I really love it, and I think it just is super cute. because this bag has this little thing, so I'm like, now it just sits outside and it is gorgeous. I'm gonna grab that notebook and show you because she's phenomenal. Everything she does is amazing and you should love it too. This is my little sloth notebook. How cute is that? So yeah, when they're colored, she basically does this first and then she colors it in. Yeah, these are little recycled notebooks that she does. I think they're so cute. I thought it'd be so cute to do a line of like knitting notebooks or something with little sheep on them. So that is my acquisition. Check her out on Instagram. And then I will show you my whips. So these are the whips that I want to get back to. I'm so excited to get back to them because I'm starting to finish off some projects that I need to finish off. And then here's one of my whips. This is a hoe. I've got one sock here. These are the softest socks in existence. So I made this with, this is Luxuria Air from New Zealand. I got it in Canada, so carbon footprint much? Yeah. Yeah, so I got this yarn in Canada. It is, like, I want to say 20% silk, 20% cashmere, and then 40%, that doesn't add up. It's some percentages that do add up, but it's like, got some silk, got some cashmere, and then possum down, which is so soft and squish. And you can kind of see it's got a halo. And then if you can see, it's got like, you can't really tell, but it's got like some sort of darker halo to it. And that's the possum down. But they are the squishiest socks ever. And if you saw my previous podcast, you saw that I was a little worried that I had made them slightly too small, but I think I've made them just right. I shall try them on for you. They just slide on like little slippers, and they are just divine. And I think that my friend is going to absolutely love them. I did kind of my own version. She's got a slightly smaller foot than me, so the heel is sitting here on me, which is good because her foot is slightly smaller than mine. So these are a little bit too small for me, so they'll be just right for her. That is the scientific level to which I make socks. If you ever watch Roxanne Richardson's anything she talks about socks, it's real specific. Like she traces the outline of people's feet and like organizes the toes so that it like is perfect for the actual size where their toes start and what shape they're in, and all kinds of things. Like, it's super scientific. And actually she has a pattern called the August Sock Knit Along, which is well worth buying. I think it's $10, but it's got so much information on how to basically measure people's feet for socks and like do all the things she does, organize the heel so that it's perfect for how much of a heel diagonal someone has. Like, that means how much they go from here to here. And then for the shape of their toes. So like if they have a long toe here, if they go in the middle, or if they're quite square, if their toes are really long, if they're short, basically organizing the toes so that it does that. It's very, very in-depth, very laid out, and super worth the $10 just to like learn more about sock making. It's a very handy thing. However, I do own that and I have used it, but my method is generally just, his foot's about 5.5, I'm about a 6, I'll just make it so it's a little too small for me. That's fine. I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel, which is also a pattern you can get on Ravelry, but it's only $1 because it's just a heel, one type of heel. It's not a whole bunch of information on different types of socks and different ways of doing things. I'm starting to kind of do my own version of, I was saying a while back that the Wool and the Gang kind of magic socks have had a decrease that I really enjoyed. It was basically a wedge toe, which is the sort of toe that I want to say is pretty common at the moment, like lots of people are doing, where it kind of looks triangular. It looks like this, and then it does that, so it looks kind of like a wedge. Wool and the Gang had their like kind of magic sock pattern was basically a sock, but a very vanilla sock pattern. But one of the things it did was at the toe, it basically did, because for a wedge toe, essentially you're decreasing the same, you're decreasing every other row, I think, for a wedge toe, every other round. So you decrease and then you knit and decrease and knit, and it makes like a very like straight line. And for the Wool and the Gang socks, they kind of like decreased not very often. So they decreased and then they knit for quite a while, and then they decreased and they knit for quite a while, and then they decreased more often. So kind of instead of doing this, it kind of went more like that. So it basically just made a rounded toe. So anyway, it made it look less angular and more rounded. And I quite like the round toe, but I find when you do a classic round toe, which is where you start with, I think, 8 stitches, and then you wait 8 rounds. So, sorry, 8 stitches. You decrease 1 stitch every 8 stitches, then you knit 8 rounds, 1 stitch every 7 stitches, and then you knit 7 rounds, 1 stitch every 5 stitches, then you knit 5 rounds, 1 stitch every 4 stitches, and then you knit 4 rounds. And you can start with 8 or you can start with like 6, and you basically get down to where you're decreasing 1 stitch every single stitch. And then you're meant to like pull it tight like a hat, but a lot of people just KIRCHNER stitch what you have left. That was probably really confusing. But the point I'm trying to make is that I kind of have combined the Wool and the Gang toe with a classic round toe, and I've started doing this this type of toe, which does a similar thing to the Wool and the Gang toe, but it's more rounded. So it looks like that. That's the front of the sock, you know, like front and back, and then at the side it looks like that. So it's just very like, it's just very rounded, and it's just pleasing to me. And I like to end up with 8 stitches on each side and KIRCHNER them together. So it just kind of just does that. So basically, oh, I hope I wrote it down. I probably didn't. Classic me. I can't remember what I did actually. So it looks like what I can do here is I can kind of read what I did, because you can see where the decreases are, because those are the decreases. That little moment there is a decrease. That's a decrease. That's a decrease. That's a decrease. And then I think I'd have to look closer to see the decreases up here. So it looks like I can count above the decrease 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've done 6 stitches, and then it looks like I've done, from the 6 stitches, it looks like I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is classic round toe. So you go like 6 rounds, 5 rounds. But then from there, it looks like I've done three rounds, and then probably 2, and then 1, I think. So that's what I mean by combining the classic round toe. The classic round toe would be like 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the classic wedge toe is just every other round, decreasing 1 stitch on each side. And so I combined the slower wedge with the slower. I'm being really confusing. The point is, instead of 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, what I've done is 6, 5, 3, 2, 1. I've just missed out the 4 because I wanted to make the toe go quicker and not have the toe be as long and like narrow. I wanted it to be shorter and fatter. That's all. I've got the second sock on the needles. I think the cuff is finished. This is how I work out if my cuff is the same. I might have even done 1 row too many, but never mind. No one will know. Yeah, I think I might have done 1 row too many. When I finish my cuff, that's when I get to weave in my end, which is very exciting because I love that to be gone. And then, I mean, the halo on this is just unreal. Look at that level of halo. And they've not even been washed or anything. It's just unreal. Anyways, so this is going to fly along now that the cuff's done. And I've got my partner around this weekend, so I'll get a good chunk of this sock done because sock knitting is that type of knitting that you can just chuck in your pocket. Little tiny ball of wool, chuck it in your pocket and knit while you walk. Then my other whip that I'm going to get started on, probably not this weekend, but this week, that's my goal this week. I want to get started on these gorgeous, they're my half pescatarian socks. That's what I'm going to call them. Half peskies. My pesky half peskies. This is a general hog buffer pattern, which is all of their patterns are free, which is amazing, phenomenal, very exciting. And I started it and then I just couldn't do. The problem was I was having problems like getting the right amount of stitches to do the actual pattern along the gusset, because there was patterns like in the gusset decreases. I mean, it was everywhere. It was very specific, and I wasn't getting the stitch counts right, and this sock was taking forever, and I was like, you know what? This is the portion of the sock that is least likely to be seen. So, in my type of lifestyle. So, I just did the first half in the crazy fancy pattern, and I just did the rest plain. And so I'm going to do the same here, but I've reached the stage where I've done the cuff and I need to start the crazy fancy bits, and I have not yet done that. But I'm coming back to this. This is happening soon. Got to come back to it. Although probably there's another sock that's going to be finished before this one, to be fair. The other whip that I really want to come back to, just showing, just trying to keep myself honest here, is, and this is why, folks, let me tell you, is my Gibson ruffle blouse by Fable Knitwear. And I can tell you why. My sister just texted me a little while ago and she said she finished one sleeve. So she's officially ahead of me, and I had been like slowing down on this because I was waiting for her. And now that she's officially ahead of me, I gotta like go. Also, I've been kind of like in the mood to wear this. So I'm like, okay, honestly, come on, Naomi. It's just a sleeve. I feel like I was watching Hive Knit, and there was a jumper, I think her Aosta sweater, she had like one sleeve just waiting to be done for like ages and ages. She finally got back to it and just knocked it out. This looks quite strikingly similar to the jumper I'm currently wearing. I do really enjoy navy. But this is alpaca, and this is made with Highland wool. I did not make this. This is from Edinburgh Woolen Mills, and it was a Christmas gift from my mother and father. It's a very, very fine gauge. It's like cobweb gauge, definitely machine knitted, but it's from Edinburgh Woolen Mills. Okay, here's a question for anyone who might know the answer. So, see, in machine knitted garments, I have 2 Highland jumpers that were like purchased like from the Highlands, or this one from Edinburgh and the other one from, I don't even know where because I was tiny when it was bought for me. But they both have the same kind of bind off, or it's basically a like a tubular bind off. So we know how to do that, right? We all know how to do, well, we don't necessarily, I'm not saying we all know, but there is a hand knitting technique called the tubular bind off and the tubular cast on, which creates this kind of effect of it kind of rolling over, which is definitely like what it's doing here. But the thing that's different is that there is elastic thread. And my question is, where is this elastic thread? So you can see that elastic thread in there. My question is, where is that introduced? Is it just threaded through after the fact? Is it part of the bind off? Where is it introduced and how is it put into these jumpers? Because I wouldn't be completely averse to learning how to do this in hand knits. Just saying. This definitely looks like it is a seamed situation, like actually cut seamed, I would guess, because it looks like the seams have just been, like the fabric's almost been cut as a fabric and then just seamed up, which doesn't surprise me because this is Shetland wool, so it would be okay with being just like sliced and seamed because it'll sort of, it's quite toothy. This is definitely a rustic jumper, even though it's really really thin. I'm still wearing some work stuff. I wear it as a layering piece because it's very thin and it's very warm and it's very good for keeping me warm. And this is where it's from. I mean, you're probably not interested in purchasing jumpers, but you know, just in case. And it's a new wool, which when you see something that says lamb's wool, actually, I didn't know this, but it's like the first time you shear a sheep, that's called lamb's wool. So I'm not sure if that's the same as new wool, but that's what it says here. It says pure new wool, and it says it's machine washable, which is quite interesting. Oh no, it says, yeah, wool cycle with a gentle action. To be fair, this may be a controversial thing to admit, but I wash all of my hand knits in the machine. I have had to what's the word? I have had to mend this jumper. There's a hole that I have yet to mend here at the attachment from the collar. Where is my mending? It's so good, you guys. I can't see it. Can't even find it. No. There is mending on... Oh yeah, no, it's not really that good, look. So I mended it here. So on the sleeve. I didn't really do like visible mending. I did darn it, but I darned it on the inside. So the outside, it's not any particularly different colours. It still kind of looks like a hole, but it isn't actually a hole because there's darning on the back. So I think what I did was potentially I just did it all on the inside and tried to not catch the all the way through the wool. So I think I might have darned it with like a pointier needle. And I thought there was one other spot that I had darned it, but once you mend a garment, it's nice. You don't really notice. I had forgotten that I had mended it, and then I just randomly saw it, and I thought, oh, I have. It is always the way with jumpers that they like to get holes like right in the center front of the neck or something like that, and you're just like, really? Oh, look, there's a bit of seam that's coming apart here, but that's always quite easy to do. But yeah, I've had this for a few years and I wear it quite frequently. It's a very good warmth piece for me, so yeah, maybe I'll think about like making another one like this. It would definitely have to be a fingering weight, but it's a very warm and cozy and thin and light situation, which thin and light is actually pretty important to me. So those are my whips that I want to get going on. That was my other whip. I will show you now my new cast on, which is very exciting. And it is my Carbeth jumper by Kate Davies. And I have TKB cords. I'm so very excited about these. I went to the knitting shop, and I actually do have a couple more acquisitions from the knitting shop, but they're just like a couple pairs of needles and a cord. I got a Chowgo cord, and I got this, which I haven't tried yet. I said I was going to do it in a backwards order. I'm just doing it in like complete chaos order, not even in a backwards order, because here's some more acquisitions. I got this thimble, which is a Norwegian thimble for colour work. And when I was doing the three colour work on my jumper, on my test knit, I was finding it tricky. You can see there's a video of me videoing myself doing 3 colour work on my Instagram feed, and it's a bit of a struggle. So I thought this would be useful, because I do with 2 colour work. I do one in each hand, because I can knit continental, but I knit quicker English. And so I do one in each hand for colour work, and that works great for me. And I catch the floats. I catch the floats by like putting the needle under one of the yarns before I put it round. So anyways, point is, when I had 3 colours, it was a struggle for me. And I was definitely holding 2 colours on my left hand and 1 on my right hand, because I throw with my right hand, but I can sort of pick with my left hand, so I was trying to pick the colours, but it was still quite tricky. So I thought maybe with a Norwegian thimble that would make 3 colour... How do you say it? 3 colour work? That just feels like a lot. Anyway, I thought that would be easier. So I got that last week, but then there was no more 3 colour work to be had. So I'll have to try another pattern with it and try it out, see how I like it. But I did get these, which I'm so excited about. These are the Knitting Barber, and they are called TKB cords, which is basically, I think, just short for the Knitting Barber. I think this is backwards. They are, I got 1 150 centimeters and 2 75 centimeters. So I think they're meant to be, you could hold, one is for the body of a jumper, and then there's 2 sleeves. So the sleeves are still quite long for sleeves. I'm going to try actually with the sleeve this time. I tried it with the body before. I'm going to do it with the sleeve because I don't need much. Ooh, and I'm going to try it. So the idea of these is that you stick it onto the needle. It's a little bit like a finger trap, but you stick it onto the needle and then it's stuck onto the needle, and then you can basically extend your needle. So I'm going to try it. We'll see how it goes. I'm trying it. I've taken the needle off. This is the body of my Carbeth jumper. So I haven't showed it to you yet, but here it is. It's a very body-like body. It's knit bottom up in the round. And it is 2 strands of DK weight yarn, so it's quite a thick gauge, and it's knit on 6.5mm needles. So I've taken the needles off because I've started on the sleeves now, but I want to try on the body. I use, for like jumpers and things, I generally tend to use my Knit Pro set. I have Knit Pro Symphonies because I was originally really obsessed with bamboo. Back when, I don't know, back when I was just buying, I guess, box craft store needles, I much preferred wooden needles to metal ones, because in like a big box craft store, the metal ones are noisy. Self-diagnosed autistic, so the noise was like no for me. Of the like aluminium ones that you get in big box craft stores generally, and also just the feel. I just didn't like the feel of them. But the wooden ones were just like so soft and wonderful. And now I've kind of come back to metal ones because the Chow-Goos are surgical steel, and that's a whole different situation. And also I appreciate the tips of them so much. But when I first got my very first pair of interchangeable needles, I got Knit Pros because Knit Pro Symphonies because A, they're beautiful, and B, they're wooden. And I love that. And the only thing I don't like about Knit Pro Symphonies is that the tips are not very they're not very sharp, which makes like increasing and decreasing sort of, but definitely increasing and definitely cables and lacework and things just more of a faff and not as much of a pleasure and ease. Just trying to get this on really securely. So you get this little thing on and then it sort of stays on quite well, is the idea at least. I've only done this once on pretty big needles that I don't reckon that these cords were meant for. So I've put this on a smaller needle, which is probably a good thing. And I'm just kind of going to leave it because I think that's, maybe I'll put a little knot in this, a little double knot, so it has something to bump up against. I'm going to leave it and now I'm going to try it on. So I'm just going to and it's got this extra long situation now. So I can try on the jump, the body of the jumper. This is amazing. I love it so much. And this is great because with my Knit Pros, I have loads and loads of cords. And I can just attach another cord to try things on. But with my Chow-Goos, which I got when I was in Canada, because the other problem with the Knit Pros is they don't come in sizes smaller than like 2.75, I reckon, is the smallest one. And I really wanted some really small needles for interchangeable, for using for for magic loop, or anyway, small circs. So I got a set of Chow-Goos and I love them. But my Chow-Goos, I don't really have that many cords and they're quite expensive, the cords. So I thought these TKB cords will be amazing for them. So here it is. This is meant to be quite a cropped jumper, so I reckon about this length, potentially. I'm wearing low trousers at the moment, but if I was wearing slightly more high-waisted trousers, let's make these slightly more high-waisted. I reckon this would be good, and keeping in mind as well that I'm keeping in mind as well that this is superwash, and superwash always, what's the word? It always gets bigger. The opposite of shrinks, gets bigger. Anyway, I like the fit of it so far. Like, it's a nice oversized fit, nice and boxy, and I think I'm ready for the sleeves, but if I can get away with it, I might like to do a little bit more on the body before I start the sleeves. You're meant to stop when it's at the underarm or at a certain length, which I've already reached, but I feel that that's going to give me like quite the cropped situation, and I think might like it to be a little bit less cropped. But maybe I want to go for like actually quite the cropped situation, because then it will stretch and become less cropped. So maybe that is actually better. Anyway, that's why I stopped, because I was undecided, And I have 10 balls of this, which means 5 balls really, because I'm holding it double. And when I hold it double, I like to use 2 separate balls instead of going from the inside and the outside, because it means that I have half as many times that I have to join the yarn. So now I just take the cord and the idea is I just pull, and it doesn't come off the needle. Instead, it just pulls the needle back through all of the stitches. So let's see if that's what happens, my friends. Here's my needle. Here's my cord. Now here's my needle. I mean, it's sliding quite happily. Bearing in mind this is superwash, so it's a very slidey, but look at that. Let's see, look. It's even just holding it. Ooh! The whole jumper still attached. So then, to take it off, I don't know what we do actually. I just kind of used my fingernails. What I think is quite cool about these is I reckon if you use this loads and kind of stretch out the tip, I'm sure you could just cut it and then you'd have a new tip to work with, which is quite cool. So yeah, these are meant to be used, like you can use them as stitch holders. So you can put your project onto these and then just tie them together to hold the stitches in place, which is fab. It's also really nice, actually. This is a good point, because I usually like, I'll show you on my Gibson ruffle blouse, I usually use cords, which is why I have so many cords for my knit pros. I usually use cords to hold the stitches for the sleeve. But it's really frustrating because actually I should change this cord, but that's a pain, so I'm not going to. I use cords with like little stoppers, but it's really annoying because the cords will get in my way when I'm knitting something else. They just get annoying. And so actually having those, because they're so much more flexible, would actually be a lot easier, I reckon. Because then they wouldn't like get in your way. I usually end up trying to tuck them in, and then they still just like kind of get in my way of my stitches or whatever I'm doing. Anyway, I mean, look at the size of this neck. Can't believe I can barely get it over my head. I sometimes wake up in the night worrying about this neck and the fact that I can't get it over my head. I mean, I can, but does anyone really want to go through life doing this to get their jumper on? Just don't know what I can do about it. I just don't know. Anyways. So, that was my body. Together we have decided that I probably should stop for the sleeves, but at the moment it doesn't matter because I'm currently just doing this. It's a bottom up, so you knit the body, then you knit the sleeves, and then you join the sleeves with the body. So I can kind of sit there knitting the sleeves while I decide if I'm done knitting the body, because as long as I have separate yarn. So I have, like I said, I have basically 5 balls of yarn. And so I've used 1.5 on this body. 1.5 is potentially more like 1 3/4. Maybe 1.5. I should weigh it to find out, actually. That would be a good idea. This is the yarn that I wound up. So there's 1 full ball of yarn in here, and then I joined it. Here, actually. So I'm kind of surprised. I joined it. This is where I joined it. So I've got a ribbing's worth of yarn left, basically, at this width. So I could make it that little bit extra. But I want to save this because I'm vaguely worried that currently the way I've allotted the yarn is if I've got 5 balls, I'm doing 2 for the body. The way it's knitted is it's body, and then sleeve, sleeve, then they're attached, and then you do the yoke and the neck, and it's got a rolled neck. So I thought 2, 3, 4, 5, but I kind of feel like this is going to possibly be more than 1 ball of yarn. So I reckon the sleeves probably won't be a full ball of yarn each, I'm hoping. But I thought, let me finish the sleeves first and see how much extra I have before I decide I'm done with the body. Because if I have loads extra on the sleeves, then I'm probably safe to use up the rest of this yarn to make the body. And if I don't, then I definitely want to save this yarn and use it to start on the yoke. So that's the body sitting around waiting for sleeve island to begin. I don't know if it's sleeve island when you're making them separately. And here is the sleeves. I started these, I redid these in the car on the way home from work today. So I follow the pattern exactly for the body, and I think that it's a nice size. I followed the pattern exactly, and I did my gauge swatch. I did the scrunchy gauge swatch, which I was talking about last week, and it's gone to my cousin. She loves it. Scrunchy gauge swatch is a positive thing. Loved it. Got my gauge, did everything. It was great. But I think the pattern is just designed to have looser sleeves than I want. So I knit the sleeves, the cuff on the sleeves, and it was very large. I took out 2 full repeats of this. So the cuff was this much bigger around before I frogged it. And that was just really big for me. But in the pattern, it's worn like this with the cuff rolled up, which I was like, okay, but still, like this cuff rolls up really happily with 8 less stitches in it. So I think it was just, the design was just for it to be a really loose cuff, and I don't like that. I love for my wrists to be warm, so I'm into the tighter cuff. But what that means is that for the sleeve increases, I'm starting with 8 fewer stitches than the pattern thinks I'm starting with for my size, and my gauge is right. My gauge is on. It's just that the pattern, I think, planned for this to be bigger, and I don't want it bigger, so I've made it smaller. So what I've started out doing is, I thought to myself, well, I know that this is less stitches than they think it is. So this, if I do it at my size and the rate for my size, I'm going to end up with a very tight sleeve. And I actually have pretty big arms for my size. Like, I'm knitting the smallest size for this jumper. And my arms are probably bigger than they expect someone knitting the smallest size's arms to be. So I was like, okay, so I need to basically increase at a quicker rate than the pattern wants me to. And potentially probably I need to increase more stitches than they've told me to, because I'm starting out with fewer stitches, if that makes sense. So it's a little bit rogue and it's a little bit tricky, because I'm trying to do well, but I'm trying to write down what I'm doing because I have to make another one. And when I do sleeves by themselves, the last time, like on my Berlin jumper, I knitted them at the same time because I knew myself, and I was like, I'm not going to take good enough notes, and then I'm going to have no idea what I did, and then it's going to be hard to recreate it. But I'm doing my sleeves like this. I'm basically just making up my own sleeve increases, essentially, because I've started out rogue, and so I figured I might as well just carry on being rogue, and that'll be slightly easier than trying to follow the pattern, because at this stage I'm not in the pattern. I'll get back in it once I've joined these sleeves with the body. I'm really excited about the yoke. It looks so cool, and I'm really excited to do it. I'm a little bit pensive. I've seen some people have done rolled collars for this jumper, and I really like how that looks. But for some reason, I'm so excited about the rolled collar, the folded collar, and I've never done one, and I'm so excited about it. And a weird part of me wants to do the folded, like the rolled folded collar on a pattern that actually does it. But almost like I want it to be right for my first time. That's kind of how I feel about it in a weird way. I'm like, I can start adding folded collars willy-nilly once I've done one, but the first time I want it to be just right. I want it to be, you know, on a pattern that, like, I don't know. So I'm undecided on what I'm going to do about the folded collar, the collar situation, because it is meant to just be a long thing that you just fold over yourself instead of being something that you actually fold. But I may or may not do that. I'm using these new needles that I got in the shop last week because I didn't have a 6.5mm needle at all. So I got one. That's the end of the story. I was going to try and just get, these are Knit Pros, but they're a different type of Knit Pro. So that was the only ones they had, and I was like, fine. I would have preferred short ones because I knew I was going to knit sleeves, and I would have liked to have short needles for the sleeves, but they didn't have them, so I just got long ones, and I'm just doing magic loop on the sleeves. I don't love magic loop. I don't ever choose to do it when there's other options, but sometimes it's the only way to do it. Once the sleeve is well, not with this size needle. When I was using, I have short 6mm needles, and I was able to just use my shortest cable and get it around, back when the sleeve was huge. But now it's not. So I've got a couple ends to weave in on here and on my sock, which is exciting. Get those ends away from me, make them go. I did the tubular bind on cast on, the Italian 1x1 ribbing cast on. I don't love how it looks on 2x2 ribbing, but that's what I've done for the, it's quite lumpy, isn't it? But that's what I've done for the body and now for the sleeves. It's just not as satisfying because it's not, you know, 1x1. I don't know. Here's what it looks like on the body. It's nice and stretchy. I don't love it. Also, I suppose a thought is like, for a sleeve, maybe that's quite nice because then you can fold it over and it's, you know, it stretches kind of to the max, which is great. But for a body on an oversized jumper, you don't really need that stretch because it's oversized. So that's something to remember. Roxanne Richardson is always talking about how different knitting techniques are useful for different things. So like the tubular cast on's great, but if you don't like it how it looks and it's actually not necessary, then maybe it's not the best thing for that particular situation. Maybe it'll look better once I block it. I just need to block it. It'll be fine once I block it, right? Yeah. So anyways, that is the increases I'm doing are like, I've done 3 rounds increase, 3 rounds increase, and now I've done 3, and now I've done 4 and 4. So now I'm gonna do 5, 5, and then 6, 6, and then 7, 7, or maybe just 7, depending on how big it gets. I'll just keep trying it on. That's one nice thing about the sleeves is you can just keep trying them on, see how they feel, see how they are. Yeah. So that's that sleeve. And finally, I have my finished object. This is my Minerva Tee by Boho Dream Design, and it is so cute. I love the sleeves on it, and I've actually not tried it on yet at all since I finished the collar last night. Stayed up too late. No, I finished it this morning in the car actually, because I had to do the I-cord bind off. That was what I had left. And I stayed up too late last night and I was like, right, I'm not going to do a whole I-cord bind off because it feels like it'll only take like 10 minutes, but you know it actually won't take 10 minutes to bind off how many stitches. Not I-cord at least. Normal bind off maybe, but I-cord no. So, this is the first time I've tried it on. I've saved it for you guys. You girls, you folks, you human beings, you fantastic people, you wonderful humans. The sleeves are lovely. I love how like roomy they are. Potentially, I could have made them longer maybe. I might have liked them like a couple centimeters longer than this. But yeah, I was a little worried about like how wide this was gonna be, but it's actually not that wide, which is great. And here it is. Here's the situation. I love the fit of it. I love the like looseness. I think it fits great. I'm still not entirely sure I love the color choices that I've made, but you know, you win some, you lose some. It's actually really lovely and cozy, and yeah, that's basically it. It has a split hem, high-low hem, and I think it's great. Just need to block it so that it doesn't roll like this. Whoop, 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 whoop. But yeah, I think it's super cute. I have some long necklaces that would look really cute with it, I think. And I just really love, to be fair, if I really don't like this bottom bit, it's like, oh no, there we go. Yeah, so very happy about that. I need to take some pretty pictures. I'll wear it at the weekend. It's supposed to be sunny. I'll wear it at the weekend. I'll take some pretty pictures, send them along to the absolutely lovely Danielle, who is phenomenal and designed this. And I love that she's doing a set of designs named after Greek gods, I think. Goddesses, sorry. It's the Goddess collection. So that's phenomenal. That's really fun. Lots of beautiful goddesses. And this is Minerva. So yeah, I loved the whole process of knitting this. Like, it was so much fun to knit because you had the sleeves, the beautiful lace, which you get into, and then it gets easy to remember. It's also really nice and easy to make your sleeves the same length because you just count the little sections of lace, which was so nice. And the lace was really fun. The lace had a little bit of 1x1 cabling, which was easy to do without a needle. And then you had all the raglan, and then you only had a little bit of time before you got to the colour work, which was exciting and fun and changed all the time. You got to change colours, make colour choices that you later regret. So yeah, I loved every moment of knitting this. I really did. And we'll see how much I wear it. To be fair, I think knitted t-shirts are definitely something that I'm really into. So I'm certainly going to knit another one, and I don't know if I'm going to end up wearing this loads. I think I might, actually. It might be a great work top. I do wear wool almost all the time at work, but I tend to wear wear store-bought wool because I really, really, really have to stay warm, and I buy like the merino underlayers that are really thin and small, and then I layer up normally with like I've got like an icebreaker, like basically like this. I layer up like this, and then I have that, you know, jumper over the top, thin jumper, and then I have like like a puffer gilet, and then maybe a puffer jacket, and then either a rain jacket or like another puffer jacket on top of that because it gets very cold. And that's another thing, is I always wear wool socks to work, but I've never worn hand knit wool socks. I wear like properly like thick, and like this has got like its own carpet on the inside, wool socks. But I'm quite curious. I'd be curious if like anyone has ever made wool socks for like proper like really cold conditions, and whether they've held up really well, and not held up but kept their feet warm enough, and what kind of wool you used and what kind of a pattern you used, because I am considering like attempting to make some wool socks that I can wear outside at work, because I'll wear them, you know, when I'm working inside all the time, like hand knit anything, but for outside I find, yeah, it's kind of practicality. But I would be very interested. So here's the chaos that has ensued. Okay, that's my little knitting drawer under the TV, and then just chaos all around. I mean, doesn't really look that bad, does it? Just a bit of chaos here and there and everywhere. So, yeah, I am currently running a knit along for the rest of the year, so please join me if you are knitting something that you're worried about, or you're wanting to just kind of like get something done, or you want to try something new that's really worrying or challenging, or you're or you're trying to get through something, but being like, you're struggling with it, and it's like you can't get it right, and you want to join my knit along, join the Not Obstructed by Perfection knit along, and just do it. Just do something. Just do it. Even if it's not perfect, just do it. And yeah, I'd love for you to join me and post over on Instagram with the Not Obstructed by Perfection hashtag, and I can see what you're working on and how you are not obstructing yourself with too much perfection. I certainly am doing that all the time. I'm more like attempting to like add in a little bit of perfection just to maybe like start liking the things I make a bit more. But I think it's great to just do something and just not be slowed down or stopped by worrying too much about it. So I would love to hear from you. Let me know what you're working on while you watch this, or what you want to cast on, or if you have any ideas about really, 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 really warm socks that you've made and what you've made them with, or if you have any ideas on what I can do about that collar of my Gibson ruffle blouse, because honestly, there's a button opening at the back. It's just not big enough. The opening needs to be wider, longer, but I don't know how to cut vertically into knitting and not have it be a disaster. It's alpaca, and also there's no steeking space. So I know you can steek, but it's literally, it wasn't planned to be steek. So it's like steeking into stockinette knitting is what I want to do, but I don't know how. If anyone has any ideas on that, do let me know. Yeah. I love to hear from people and what they're up to, and I'm trying to not buy yarn, so let me know what yarn you're buying so I can pretend to vicariously buy more yarn through you. Okay, see you later!